All right, so let's take a look at this one. And again, remember that if you have a negative for the third term, then you're going to have to approach this when you factor by putting a plus sign and then parentheses and the rest. Okay, so let me write that in color, in a color that's a little easier to see than the yellow, I guess I should say. All right, so we're going to group the first two, 3x cubed minus 8x squared. Plus, remember, we're going to add the second group, negative 18x plus 48. So we've simply thrown in a plus sign to say we're adding the negative 18x and the 48. And we're grouping them together. So we put parentheses to kind of visually show that. All right, so now we're going to treat it like two separate problems. We're going to start with the first one, and we're going to essentially, factor this out. Let's see what our greatest common factor is. So 3x cubed is just 3 times x times x times x. And negative 8x squared would be negative 2 times 2 times 2 times x, right? Okay. So now we're looking for what we have in common. There's no 3 in any of the others. And there's an x here and an x here. X here, and then a leftover x. Okay, so I've got my leftovers underlined. I'm going to put an arrow to show that that's a negative that's not included, all right? So what's in common? What's in common is what's circled. So we have two x's in common, that's x squared. So what's left at the beginning is 3x. Those are the leftovers that are underlined. Bring down a minus. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And that's all that's left over in the second part. So that is the first part, or the first two terms factored out. Now we're ready to do sort of the second problem, right? We're gonna separate this out. Now let's think about this part of it. So we've got negative 18x. Well, 18 is 9 times 2. So that'd be negative 3 times 3 times 2 times x. And then 48. 48 is 6 times 8 is what I think of. So plus 2 times 3 times 2 times 2 times 2 for 8. So this is 6 and this is 8. Yeah. No x's on that one. All right. So what do they have in common? They don't have a negative. So got that. They have a 3 in common, but not another 3. So I'll underline that one. They do have a 2 in common. But no x's in common. And then if there's nothing else, then these are all leftovers also. So let's see, I have a negative. It does not go in front. What goes in front would be the things in common. So 3 times 2. So I've got a 6. And that what's left is negative 3x and 8. 2 times 2 times 2. Okay, so now we always want to look to see if these are the same. These are not the same. That means that we have another step to do that we don't always have to do. So if these are not the same, and you see how the difference is just the positive and negative kind of thing going on. So we're going to go back to the second one. And I'm just going to bring down the plus 6. And I'm going to think about, this is negative 3x. Well, a positive 8 is the same as minus a negative 8, right? Positives always have two negatives in them, technically. You could think of it as -1 times -8, right? That is positive 8. 1 times 8 is 8, negative times negative is positive. So we can write that way so that we can see that they actually have a negative in common. If we do that, then we're going to bring that negative out in front. So the 6 is now going to be written as -6 or -6. And then what they don't have in common is the 3x and that other negative and the 8. There's like a line there that's looking confusing. So let me make sure that looks a little more clear. All right, those are the two negatives that are going out in front to change the 6 to a -6. And then we have a 3x left over and we have a -8 left over. So now let me bring all this down. x squared times 3x minus 8. Okay. Now we can look at it and see. We have 3x minus 8, 3x minus 8. That is a very good thing. We want to see the same thing in the parentheses. We're now ready to write our final answer. So for the final answer, we're going to have 2 parentheses, and whatever is the greatest common factor is going to go here. And greatest common factor. And then what was in both parentheses, we write in the other one. And that is our answer, x squared minus 6 times 3x minus 8. All right. I hope that's helpful. May have to watch it a couple of times to make sense of all the little parts and sections. But I do hope that it helps you to get comprehension of this process. See you next time.